welcome to my channel. This is Emma on a beautiful autumn afternoon here in the UK. I'm very grateful to have you here with me. What a beautiful day to be together sharing a moment, even if it's virtual. I'm so grateful for the YouTube channel that I have here because it's connected me with a world that I didn't really know existed. It's connected with people who I might otherwise never have met. Even as I say, it's just virtual. I don't mean just, because I feel that we have a real connection here. I feel we're building a little community here, which is just so lovely. And it's creative. It's about doing what you want to do in your life. Just maybe shifting a few of the goalposts and seeing what might come if you just have that moment of realization that you're not supposed to be doing whatever it is you're doing, and you go, ooh, what can I do that's different? So that's kind of what I'm about here. So welcome. If it's your first time here, it's great to have you here. I hope you'll stay around with me and we'll see what's going to happen here. I never quite know. I really do these videos on a whim, if you like. I sit down and I see what's going to come to me to talk about. I have a rough idea, but mostly what I talk about is just my life, really. And I am obviously an expert in my life, aren't we all? We're all an expert on our own lives. And I feel that if I share a little bit of the joy that I have, maybe that'll bring you a bit of joy too, and a bit of inspiration, and just have a nice relaxing visit with me. It's just so nice to be here, and yeah, I hope you think that as well. So what am I going to talk about today? Well, I don't know if you can see behind me. I'll just sort of move a little to one side. So as many of you will know, if you've been following me for a while, I have been making some very big shifts in my life. The last few years have been an incredible journey. They really have. Things started to shift and change, and things sort of cracked apart, and I could see that I wasn't really meant to be doing what I've been doing. I've shifted hugely the last few weeks. In September, really, when I cleared out all my fabrics, my textile art that I used to do has gone. It's really gone. I don't want to do it. It just died for me, and the door on that chapter was shut firmly, and the signpost was saying, no, you need to go this way now. And I'm so grateful because I've listened to it, and it is opening things up for me hugely. And the painting behind me is part of what is represented by this shift, and it's been a shift brought about by listening to my intuition. It's a word I didn't know a few years ago. I might have thought about gut feeling, or having an instinct about something. You talk about sixth sense, we talk about people who know things, and I have really been working with my intuition. If you've been here for a while watching my creative videos, doing my stitching, I was getting wilder and wilder and trusting more and more in my intuition to guide my artwork, to show me what to do, to let the process take me. I would show up with my materials and the process would show me what to do. Obviously I knew how to sew, I knew how to do free machine embroidery, and I was pretty competent and confident with my colours and the fabrics that I would choose, but I really worked with something else, not just me, the physical me. There was something else coming in, and if you're in tune with that, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you're not, well, maybe this is something for you to consider, to think about, to think outside. It's like what they say, thinking outside the box, and I think it's actually thinking so far outside the box there just isn't a box anymore. I'm so not living in a box anymore. I am using my intuition all the time in my daily life, but it particularly showed up for me, as I say, in my artwork. And I really tuned into it, worked with it, sometimes to the extent that the artwork was very odd and possibly even lacking something. Because I do think that the intuition is one aspect of us, but there's us as well. The character that we are, the person that we are, all our experiences, all our desires, all our choices, all our opinions, all our views, all the things we like, all the things we don't like. That's all part of the mix, and our experiences, our skill set, what we're good at doing, what we're not good at doing. So the picture behind me, I did just quite intuitively. I'm learning to use paints and paper in a different way. I have used paints and paper in the past, not terribly confidently, but just in a small way. I've used them, I've printed and painted, so I know kind of roughly what I'm doing. I know about sort of mark making and all this sort of stuff, and I can draw. I know I can draw because I'm good at drawing, and I know that. I'm saying that without meaning to be boasting about it. I just want to acknowledge that it's one of my skills, and it's something I do practice, and I've practiced a lot over the last few years. I suddenly got into it. I really wanted to draw, and it became something important, and now I can kind of see why, that I was kind of laying the foundations, if you like, for this shift out of textiles, which I think in a way, textiles were kind of wonderful and I loved it, and there are some fantastic textile artists out there, but I think in a way it was kind of stopping me finding something else deeper inside me that was calling to me, and it's called loudly enough in my ear now that I've listened to it. The fact I've cleared out all my fabrics, all my old work, apart from a few key pieces which I've chosen to keep because I love them and I want them around me to look at and enjoy, is massive. So currently in my little art room, which some of you see in previous videos, and I promise it is going to be ready soon, I'm just work in progress. I'm going around filling little holes with polyfiller stuff, you know, the filler stuff, the plaster filler, taking out old picture hooks, filling in wobbly edges, bits where there was cracks, and I've been painting. It's been a fiddly little job, and I've done it alongside other things because, like everything else I do now, it's not about completing something. In the past, I would have wanted that room done and dusted. You know, I'd have spent a week doing it, it would have been done. Now it's like, I've gone in every day and just done a little bit of sanding, a little bit of filling, a little bit of painting, and I've even decided I'm going to paint a wall with a colour. And I'm not going to tell you what that colour is because you are going to see it in my big reveal in a week or so's time, perhaps after half term. Now it's after half term, I should say. We'll see what I can show you of that. But it's been about making space for me and listening to the little voice that said change up, and I've created this oasis in there. I've created a sanctuary. I've bought a comfy chair to sit in. I've rearranged, you know, I haven't rearranged the furniture because there isn't much space to rearrange things, but I've painted and changed and cleared, and I think part of that process was making space for me, for the new me, for the who I am. Perhaps not even a new me, perhaps it's just been about revealing myself to myself by listening and changing and being willing to change, because it's not always easy, is it? You know, letting go of stuff was a huge thing to do, massive. But I'm really feeling the benefits now of listening to that voice that said, don't do this anymore. It's time for change. So the piece behind me, as I say, I'm learning to move into using, you know, water-soluble crayons, which I have used for a long time. You know, you can see how battered some of my stuff is. My dear old, I'll show you, this is the state they're in. These are my dear old water-soluble crayons, which I've used for a long time and I absolutely love. But it's been this shift into using something a little bit unfamiliar in a way, in that I don't know what I want to do with it. I don't know what I can do with it. A little bit intimidated because I've never thought of myself as a painter, as whatever it is you do on paper or on, you know, I don't know, canvases and stuff. I've been this stitcher. So this has been part of the journey in itself, and this week I kind of had a revelation. I was painting last night. What I'm doing now is I'm putting a big, you can't see, I'm sitting in my lounge, and there's a carpet, there's a rug in the middle of the floor, and I cover it up with some plastic sheeting stuff, some oilcloth, and I'm kind of painting on the floor, which I've never done really, and even doing that is different and a bit challenging because I'm really throwing myself into it, and I'm trying to work intuitively. And I realised last night I was getting into a bit of a place where I thought I had to learn stuff. I had to go and see what other people were doing. I had to go and learn some things, go on a course, learn how to use these materials, learn how to use whatever, paint, acrylics, watercolours. And I got into a place of a little bit of sort of stress and fear. And then I kind of went, I did this picture, which I'll show you in a second. I'll bring it over and show it to you. And I kind of went, oh my goodness, this is really just like doing textiles as I was towards the end. It's to do with my intuition again. It's to do with not thinking, I mean, yes, I can go and do some courses and maybe I'll learn some things. Of course I will, you always do. But maybe if I just listen to myself and use these materials and maybe do some practicing like I would do sampling when I was doing my textile art. You know, I often would do a little sample if I wasn't quite sure, and I would look at that and say, well, I want to do it this way, I want to do it that way. Maybe I'll do some sampling, but I think the most important thing is playing, not being afraid to play like I'm just going to be a 5-year-old again. Take some materials, have a play and see what happens, and look at it and then say, ooh, I like that bit, or I don't like that bit. How could I do that differently if I want to do it differently? And most of all, just not be afraid to have a go, because I think the voice in your head, isn't it, that says, ooh, you know, you don't know how to do this, you're not an expert. And somebody said recently that actually being a beginner at something is a great gift, really, because you don't know what to do. So why don't you just use things the way you want to use them and not necessarily how they should be used? And this has been like a light bulb in my head, as I say. It's been a sort of a moment of revelation last night, and I went, and I could feel myself relaxing. I could feel myself going, well, actually, that sounds great. What if I just throw the rule book out that says I need to crayon this way and I need to use this and smudge it that way, and what if it needs to look this way? And I'm thinking about, you know, art classes and intimidation, the intimidation of feeling other people judging me, or me judging myself as not being good enough. Guess what, folks? It's that old imposter syndrome coming in again. I'm sure many of us have had that throughout our lives. We're not good enough. We shouldn't be doing this thing. Who do you think you are to call yourself a painter? Oh, shock horror. You know, I think that's partly why, in a way, I've hidden behind the term textile artist all these years, because it was an excuse not to be a painter. Oh, now that's a big one, isn't it? How many things are we hiding behind not to step out fully and courageously into what we're really meant to be doing? So, bit mad, maybe not anything you're interested in this, but if it strikes a chord with you, I really encourage you just to see what you're doing or not doing because you think you shouldn't, because you think you're not good enough, and I would just encourage you just to start as I did. And I'll show you what I did. If you just wait a second, I'll go and get what I did. So this is the piece here. It's not earth-shattering, it's not the world's greatest piece of art. I'd been for a walk, actually in the rain, and the hedgerow was looking really beautiful, and there were these lovely seed heads of willow herb, rosemary willow herb. So I was just trying to see what I could do to capture that and to bring it out of my head, out of my sort of memories, and see what it felt like to make the marks on the paper. And I just felt it was really dark up here and really light down here. It almost looks like it's in bright sunshine, but that's just how it came out. So I wasn't judging it as being right or wrong, but every piece I'm doing, I'm learning something from, and I'm learning that it's about the mark making, it's about just starting, it's about being willing to play and not judge it, and just see what comes, like I was doing with my textiles. If you've been watching my textiles for a while, that was the place I got to where it didn't matter what it was, I was just seeing what came, and I got some fantastic results. I got some really interesting, unexpected things happening, and you know, that was just such an interesting journey in itself. So I'm kind of sharing this with you, not so you'll go away and think, oh, I need to make art like that. Nobody needs to make art like mine, because you need to make whatever you're doing that's yours. It's not about being anything like anybody else. It's about being authentically you. But it's about playing, showing up, listening to your intuition, listening to what's inside you, especially if it's a quiet little voice that's saying, you know, just have a go. So I'm very excited about this. I was a bit daunted, as I say. Now I'm just kind of excited for the journey ahead. I feel as I've opened this new door to new possibilities, and I've no idea what that door's got behind it at all, where the path's going to lead me. But I'm very excited for the journey. And if you're excited too, I hope you'll stick around. We'll see where this takes us all, because I'm sharing this with you. I hope it's of interest to you. I hope it might inspire you too. Just have a go. Do things that are scary. Do the things you don't think you can do. So I think that's enough for now. I've got a room to go and paint, little bits to do, and I want to go outside because it is definitely a lovely afternoon. I've got a hedge that needs clipping, and I'm just wishing you a beautiful week. Thank you so much for being here. It's just lovely to share this journey with you. So thank you. See you again very soon. Next week, we hope. Fingers crossed.